1st, 2020. I'm Melissa Pache. I'm the CEO at the Whistler Chamber of Commerce. I'd first like to acknowledge that we're having this virtual meeting on the shared unceded traditional territories of the Squamish-Lillooet Nations, and we honor their language, culture, and traditions. Today's topic, lovely ladies that we see on the screen today, is the third of a series on the COVID-19 support webinars. And today we're going to share best practices on how to work from home with guest speakers, Caroline Bagnall and Blair Kaplan, who have talked to us about efficiency, effectiveness, and healthy ways to transition remotely. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move myself this way, because what I realized as I started to talk is that my notes are now there, not over here. So bear with me for a moment. So the purpose of the series of webinars is to ensure that you, our members, and the broader business community in Whistler have the opportunity to have your most pressing questions answered by experts who will provide guidance and support to navigate all of us through these challenging times. We are going to use, for those of you that are out there right now, we're going to be using a Zoom, which we're on right now, but there's a Q&A. So if you go to the bottom of your screen, there's an area called, there you go, Blair. There's a Q&A section. And so my suggestion is to go to that Q&A section and start to ask the questions that are most pressing for you. Blair, you're just
scary.
You're waving to your mom, aren't you?
She's been in isolation so long.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Sherry.
Yeah, exactly. So to use the Q&A again, like I said, just auto-populate the questions in there. And then you can also, like we've done with Slido in the past, you can hit the like button on the questions that you like, and that will auto-populate that question to the top. So it'll be asked first. So I'd like to thank, first of all of our members, all of you for continuing to support the Chamber by receiving through your annual partnership and commitments, enabling us to do the important work that we do. So good morning, ladies. So nice to see you. Caroline and Blair, I'll start by just an introduction to Caroline and then on to Blair. So Caroline is the owner and founder of Connect Hospitality Strategies. Caroline specializes in leadership training and workforce education, building strong industry professionals well, you've been here for a long time. I don't know how many years you've had Connect Hospitalities, but you'll tell us. Yep. She's a 20-year resident of Whistler, hospitality and tourism professional, adult educator, and sustainable events advocate. Caroline is an integral part of the Whistler Chamber's Whistler Experience program, so many of you would have met her through that, as a facilitator to many of our programs, which includes Food Safe, as well as Management 101, and we are already in conversations around what we could do online in the future for supporting our community. Blair Kaplan, in the house with her microphone. Who did you say you looked like yesterday with your microphone?
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern.
Curls in the microphone.
Full on work from home mode. So president of Blair Kaplan Communication. Blair is a self-proclaimed super badass as what she does. So hopefully the kids in the background of anybody who's listening didn't hear that too loud. Or so she's been told she's a badass. From blogging, brand management, marketing, social media, and more, Blair's life lessons were pulled together to create the ideas that have become Blair Kaplan Communication, aka BKC, correct?
And BKV from BKC.
Right, there you go. Okay, ladies, I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to ask you, we're going to go through a bunch of questions, but it's really a free flow conversation today. There's no real agenda to what we're doing. We have an hour to really understand your best practices of working from home. I'm only learning now, so I'll tell you mine afterwards, which are not the best, but why don't we start with, tell us your rituals. What are your rituals?
Go for it, Blair.
Okay, well, why don't I start with a bit of my background? My PR company, Blair Kaplan Communications, is turning 12 this summer. And it's obviously, thank you. And so I started off my business when I was 23, living in Vancouver, working from home. So I've had over a decade, which is a long time, to perfect my skills. And it's not always easy. And there's no perfect way to do anything. And you always have to adapt to whatever's going on. And I think something that's really important to remember is that working from home is obviously different than going into an office, and that there's going to be a really awkward adjustment period. You might feel like, I'm an extrovert. I feel lonely. I usually like have a lot of work to do. I'll do it from home, and then I'll go to the coffee shop, but now I can't do that. So I'm scheduling virtual coffee meetings with friends where we meet like this, but have coffee and not talk about work. But, you know, in this situation, you have to adapt. But that's a bit about my background. I've worked from home living alone. I've worked, you know, right now, me and my husband live in Pemberton. I'm lucky because I have a room that we've made into an office, so I'm able to shut the door and have a place to focus. But I'm aware that a lot of people don't have that. So I think it's really important to create a space that's your dedicated workspace, even if it has to convert to the dinner table. And while you are working, that's your workspace. And then when you're done, you convert that space back into a living space. You really want to make sure you differentiate between like work and off work.
Yeah. And I'm actually giggling a little bit because what I decided to do this morning for this particular call, normally I clear the deck in the house and I'm on a webinar and nobody can come in. The dog's got to be taken care of. And it's not happening. The dog is right there. So if she barks, I apologize profusely. But as you said, to try and shut down my space, I can't. It's sitting in the kitchen.
Yeah, and that's totally okay.
And that's the reality, correct?
So I think it's more like, it's not more about starting work. I think it's more the end of the day to define what the end of your day is versus your evening. I think that's the harder thing. Like, obviously, like 3 things that I think are really important for working from home. 1, you need a routine. So like while you're working, be consistent, wake up the same time, maybe wake up, work out, have your breakfast, build a routine and follow that routine. And part of that routine should be getting dressed. Maybe it's just changing out of one pair of sweatpants into another. You know, maybe it is you put your hair
I love that.
in a bun. Like, I don't know, just do something with your like physical appearance. And it doesn't have to be fancy. That changes from your pajamas to like your work outfit. Like I have indoor sweatpants and outdoor sweatpants. Now they're my indoor sweatpants and my indoor sweatpants.
Getting dressed.
Yeah. And then, so having a routine is really important and being consistent, you know, and separating your days off from your days on. Like I sleep in on my weekends, but I still set my alarm every day during the week. Mm-hmm. And then also with the routine, the second thing that's important is having a schedule. Like I have obviously a digital schedule, but I also like write everything in my book and I schedule in my breaks. So around 2 or 2:30 every day, I try not to have something unless I have to. And that's my time to go outside and be in nature. I try to schedule in my workouts. I schedule in meetings. I look at my schedule and I know if, oh my God, 7 Zoom meetings is too many meetings. I learned that last week. I space things out, but I schedule everything in. And having a schedule helps you stay on task, but also keeps you efficient. So you're not working a 15-hour day because it's very easy to like do some laundry, do some emails, go make dinner. Like if you want to get your work done and move on with your day, like have a schedule and be efficient with it. Schedule in like this chunk of time is dedicated to this and this chunk of time is dedicated to this. And you're going to be done work at this time. Mm-hmm. And I think the third thing that's really important is really practicing having discipline. That's something that a lot of my friends have talked to me about who are now working from home, who have, you know, basically said, wow, I can't believe the discipline you have. Mm-hmm. It's really hard sometimes to focus, especially when working from home is new. And I think creating lists, you know, swallow that frog, you know, do what's most important first, the most annoying task that you just are dreading, get the worst done first. And then I also build myself rewards throughout the day. Like if I do A and B, then I get to do C. And it kind of helps me be disciplined. It's like, okay, I can't have lunch until I finish this task. And so, I get hungry. So I know I need to finish it by this time in order to eat lunch. And it really helps me stay productive. And also having accountability partners. So maybe within your team or a colleague, depends kind of what your workflow is, but maybe say, hey, by the end of the day, I want to have this done and have them check in on you.
Right.
It helps hold you accountable and vice versa. Like it's very easy to fall off the work wagon when you're working from home.
Sure
and so like being accountable and like setting deadlines and being public about your deadlines, like tell your team, hey, by the end of tomorrow, I'm going to have this done. And then if you don't have it done, you have to own up to it. Be like, sorry, I didn't get it done. Yeah. And it kind of feels not awesome.
So that's a great start for sure. I love the top 3. And I know that I talked to the team this morning. We have our team huddles every morning. So different from the 2 of you have, you're solopreneurs. I work with a team, so my morning rituals are a little different in that we've set up a morning huddle every morning at 9 o'clock. We used to do them in person at the office. It would be about a 5 or 10 minute update on, you know, what are we needing from each other in the day, so that we're not constantly interrupting each other. And now what we do is every morning at 9 o'clock, we have a team huddle. It gives us sort of a check-in on energy level, and then into our top 3 for the day, and what do we need in terms of support from one another. So I think when we're speaking to some of the members that are, or business owners out there listening, is there's a big difference between managing a team versus being a solopreneur. So I think having the mix of this conversation today will be really helpful. Caroline, you've got obviously some ideas as well of working from home. You've been doing that yourself for quite some time.
Yeah.
Can you give us an update on your side?
Yeah. So I have Connect Hospitality Strategies, and that's been 5 years now. And so, you know, really working full time from home. But prior to that, when I was working for Tourism Whistler, we would often work from home. And so having the access to work remotely and have the VPN connection to your workplace was really important. So that might be something that companies really factor into their budgeting as from strategy going forward, is to have that access to the company intranet when you're working from home. Mm-hmm. But so the transition for me to work remotely was actually really quite easy. I've got, like Blair, I've got a designated space in my house that I can work from, so that I have all of my files, all of my equipment is locked and loaded, and I can just close the door. Actually, I don't want to see what's behind me, but my office is kind of like the room version of a junk drawer. It's like where the expensive mountain bikes get stored behind me, but I've got my space, and I've got my filing cabinet, and I've got all those things, so that I'm organized and I don't have my papers sitting out on the kitchen counter. And so one of the things that helps me to stay on track is that I've got 2 kids in elementary school. So getting them to school in the morning, or getting them up and getting them out of the house, is when we're up, we're all up, and it's time to get ready and go. I'm a morning person for sure, and so I like to get up and go exercise before anybody's even awake. And so then it's done.
And you're a bit of a gym rat. You do the kettlebells.
Yeah.
Talk about kettlebells. That's obviously, and that's a big concern to a lot of people, is you do get up, that morning routine that, you know, again, working from home is the topic today, but the physical aspect of what we were used to doing isn't quite the same. So adapting to that has been quite a shift for most of us.
It has. And CrossFit at 5:30 in the morning, 5 days a week, down to nothing. I think my husband started getting worried about me last week. He's like, you know, you really have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Really? I'm like, I'm good. I'm getting out during this, and now I'm going for a run in the afternoon. But I do like my morning time, and that's when I'm most efficient, and then I get what I need to get done before they're even awake. But some of my best practices, first of all, get what you need to be sufficient. So I have, besides my laptop, I've also got a large monitor that I use, and so I work on 2 different screens during the day, which saves a ton of paper. I have a proper chair. I'm not sitting on a dining room chair, which is uncomfortable, right? You need something with lumbar support, or get yourself like a standing workstation. So, or even if you stack up a couple of boxes on the kitchen counter, like get yourself sorted so that you're not uncomfortable, and that your back is supported. And I have a printer and a scanner. I was doing some work this morning, and I was thinking to myself, like, what would I do without my scanner? Because I use it a ton. So find the equipment that you need to be as efficient as possible, because the less time you waste, the more productive you're going to be. So
right.
Those are important. I mean, all of Blair's points around like scheduling your time, and, you know, like set a timer on your social media stuff, because once you
turn off your notifications, like
I turn off notifications. Yeah, exactly. So those are all some things that I would certainly recommend. And
What about aside, what other equipment? Like we're working on Zoom. That's the platform we're working on today. Are either one of you techie that way in terms of being able to, give us some suggestions on meeting spaces that you've used that have worked for you and maybe that haven't worked for you?
So I love Zoom. Like I have a pro account. Zoom is my preferred way to communicate with video. I also have a group, like a client, and we all meet on Google Hangouts, and that's also pretty good. I don't mind Google Hangouts. I prefer Zoom. FaceTime and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is really great, especially for group chatting with people on your team who don't all have an iPhone. Mm-hmm. WhatsApp is also really secure, and you can do group calls as well. And then just also what you were saying about having a scanner. I have a scanner and printer, but I broke it, and I'm in the middle of fixing it, and I think I almost have it fixed. But in the meantime, I actually on my iPhone, I can just scan documents. I take a picture, and they save as PDFs using the notes function. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of ways to bootstrap if you don't have the capital to purchase some equipment, or if you can't figure out how to fix your scanner. You can just use your iPhone, and there's lots of really great free apps that help you do certain things. Printing obviously is not something you need a printer to print. That's just that. And normally I'd say you can go to the library if you don't have a printer, but you can't go to the library. But staples.ca,
just for free,
and they deliver in a day or so. Right. I ordered ink and it came right away, and I'm waiting for my special pens because having good pens is important. Really good floating pen. I'm waiting for my pens. I can't wait. I check the mail every day. I'm like, where is it? But order a printer. I was looking last week because I didn't know if I should try and fix my printer or buy a new one, and I just had to fix it to save the environment, unless it's completely kaput. But the printers are almost as affordable as the ink, and this is probably maybe this is a good time for you to get a printer. But like you said, I use a big screen and a laptop. I also have an iPad if I need a third screen. There's lots of ways you can get around not printing.
Yep. True enough. Yeah. No, I agree. What do you do? What do you not do well from working from home? Because we all have these habits, and most of us probably that are on this call right now are new at this whole online working remotely. And I'd love to see more questions pop up. Certainly, if there's things that aren't being answered, please feel free to use the Q&A to ask. I think the first question here is, what color is snow?
And if you have a dog or not.
Depends if you have a dog. Yes, this is very true. So what is it? What are some bad habits? I can tell you from my point of view is I really can't shut down. I have a really hard time. And maybe it's the role that I'm playing right now in the community, because I feel our whole team is feeling like we really need to support everybody, and there's news coming in and emails of incredible members and business community that are looking to support. But really, it's my bad habit is not being able to shut down, and I'm learning to have to do that in order to sustain my energy levels, not even just throughout the day, but in the long haul. I can't sustain this workload. So what about yourselves? What sort of bad habits have you gone through and changed?
Well, for myself, I think you need to be clear around expectations. So if you say if people are sending you emails all the time, and there's an expectation that you're going to be replying between 9 and 5, maybe put an auto reply in there that says that you'll be responding to emails between 2 and 4, so that there isn't that expectation of that you're always on. And so letting people know where you're at, or if a reply is coming. So I think that's kind of important. I don't really have I mean, I don't work late at night.
Right.
Because I got to get up in the morning. And so, I always let people know that, I'll reply back to them within 12 hours, 24 hours, that kind of thing.
That's
a really good suggestion. I think I'm going to start doing that.
I think it's brilliant, setting expectations, because thing is, you may have your set hours, but other people that you work with don't, or their hours are different. I know some people who work better at night. But I'm a morning person. If I email you at 6 a.m, I don't expect a response right away. Just if you're emailing me at 8 p.m, you shouldn't expect a response right away. But if it's urgent, call me. If it's really urgent, call me. And lately there's been some crisis management, and that's different, but setting expectations is really important, and boundaries.
Right.
And that's something like you, Melissa, like I love work. Like, I mean, I love time off, but if I'm really into something, like I can just keep going and going. It's like, okay, one more hour, I just want to finish. And then all of a sudden, like it's now a 10-hour day, 15-hour day.
Yeah.
So having those boundaries is extremely important.
Right.
When it comes to communication, but also with yourself, because you can't just work, because then you burn out and you can't pour from an empty cup.
No, you can't. And you're absolutely right. And it's getting to a point where you recognize that before your cup's empty.
Yeah. And like, I think by scheduling in something like self-care, like today, my 2 p.m. walk is at noon because I have a meeting, but it's like scheduling in those breaks. And if you have trouble shutting off, then make plans for like when you should shut off. So if you know you only work till 5, make plans for 5:30 to have a Zoom or a dinner with your roommates. Or
yeah, our big plan these days is to go and get a burrito at Pepe's place.
Yeah.
Pre-order, go in and leave.
Great. Support local business. But I mean,
Exactly.
if you're someone like I have trouble shutting off, like I have to make those plans, or like I know that like my husband's working on cooking dinner, or that, you know, I've gotten a lot better at it, but I'm like that too. Boundaries and separating my work from my home life.
Yeah. And there's a lot of folks out there right now that are working from home and their kids are home with them. And so that's one of the challenges that I'm up against, is that I've got 2 kids in 2 different rooms on 2 different computers, trying to keep up with their curriculum. And I mean, you just can only do the best that you can, and cut them some slack and cut yourself some slack.
It's actually one thing that I'm I'm grateful for a lot, but the fact that I don't have kids in my home, that I can't even imagine. I've raised 2 children on my own, and I was working full time, going to an office. I can't imagine what it would be like to have the kids in the house. So I really feel for those out there that are listening, that are trying to manage a business with a team and the pressures of having it, or for those of you even that have had to close your businesses, and know that we're doing everything we can to reopen everything. But that's a lot of stress that's underlying in order to get to a point where we can efficiently work from home. Because we are talking about how to work from home, but the reality is in all of us, I would think, at least I know in myself, it's that underlying energy that sits there that really affects the way that we would normally think through things.
I think also
observation of myself, but
and I think if you have children or roommates, or like you can't have if you're having trouble at home having your regular 9 to 5 schedule, don't be hard on yourself. If it means you need to get up and work from 5 till 8 and then do your work again, like in chunks, like later on, like chunk your time and do what you need to do and prioritize. Get the things you need to get done first, like the most urgent things, you know, tick those off. But also be realistic. Like we're going through a pandemic. If your deadlines need to change, then they need to change. Because you're human. We're all human. We're all doing the best we can. And you're not alone in this situation. We're all going through this together. And so if you have a deadline that's supposed to be Tuesday, but you know it's not going to get done because you're also juggling kids, push your deadline. And if that person doesn't understand, then send them my way.
That's really good. A couple things. So one of what I do, just to share what I do in the mornings to get ready for my day, I always wanted to work from home. It's been a big thing. I've always, you know, with the team, the chamber team, I've been a big advocate is if you can take your work home and it's a project, take your work home. Little did I realize that my dream of working from home would be consistently working from home, which I find difficult. But I do wake up in the mornings very early, like 5:30, build a fire, read, write, and sit quietly and really go over my calendar for the day, and then prepare for our team huddle. Some of the resources that I'd love to know from you guys is what resources would you suggest to our audience out there that would help them and yourselves through working from home. And certainly the audience that's out there, I encourage you to, if you have some websites or books that you think would be useful, please type them in to the Q&A or the chat room. And that way we can, Community of Practice is sharing those tools. So maybe Caroline, what's
So one of the tools that I have been using for years, which I really enjoy, is Dropbox.
Right.
And so I'm able to share documents, files with groups of people or individuals, and we can collaborate on them. So instead of having to send an attachment through email, you can have a team Dropbox and share files that way.
Right.
That's one. Another one is one of my clients uses Slack, and Slack is a fantastic tool.
Yeah, it is.
It's a fantastic tool. It has different channels. You can communicate with different people. It takes a bit of getting used to in terms of, you know, having one more place to check for messages, but it's you can do project management on it. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
That integrates well with Dropbox as well. Other resources, I think those are kind of my two big ones. I'm not a big Google Docs fan, but Google has so many great resources there, and there's even more that are getting released as we go with Classroom and such.
I was really hoping to get, keep looking at my my inbox. I emailed BC Tech this morning, and I know that there's a webinar happening, and I was hoping to get it to you. So I'll keep searching. I've emailed them to find out when their webinar is, but it's talking a lot about tech in the work at home office and tech in the workplace now. So I'll get that to you as soon as we get that to you. I'll certainly be sending it out through our regular news updates. So Blair, what about you? Books, resources?
Yeah. So I also use Dropbox. I use Dropbox with one client. Most of my other clients, we use actually Google Drive. They both serve very similar functions. I think it's just about preference, but I prefer Drive. I also really like Slack. It's
right.
a great way to organize different conversations within a team instead of having a bunch of email threads. So you can like brand, you know, like it can be branding, PR, marketing, website, questions, like however you want to do it. So instead of like having to search through your email, you can look at Slack. A book that when I first started my business about 12 years ago, I had a business coach and they told me to read E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Okay.
It's about building systems. So I think it's applicable to anyone who has a business, but the whole premise is about working on your business, not for your business. And this is just a really good time because you're not having to commute to meetings, and like your commute's probably from like your bedroom to your kitchen table. You're saving a lot of time. So maybe spend some extra time building out some processes for your business, which will also ultimately help you work remotely, like building out systems. And I think that's probably why I'm so good at having a schedule and these systems that I've created for myself. I also think you don't want to stop learning. And I know we're spending a lot of time in front of screens, but I'm really big into podcasts and audiobooks.
Me too.
How I built that. Is it How I Built That or How You Built That with Guy Raz? It's just a really cool, innovative marketing business podcast. But I like to listen to books. I get them either from the library. The library is free. Like if you have a library card, you can get the Libby app and you can listen to books for free.
Oh, okay.
And it's a free resource. And what I do is unless I have calls to make, I'll listen to my books. Like I usually listen on my commute from Pemberton to Whistler, but that's not happening right now. So I'll listen on my walks. I'll try and go for a walk for an hour and listen to a book and disconnect from the screen and really just like use my time in nature to learn or escape into an alternate reality if it's like not a business book. But Libby is a free tool if you have a library card, you know, or I also have Audible. So,
and I know that Olivier's our events manager. He's listening and on the back end here, he's going to be getting those resources from you and post them onto our website once this is over.
Yeah.
A couple of things that I have been using of late, aside from my colleagues and connections to the outside world verbally, I do have a colleague that I met actually through LinkedIn. I found LinkedIn to be really quite, there's a lot of information in it. But if you pick and choose really what you're looking for specifically, I met a gentleman by the name of Kevin Wallace, Wallace, and he's a strategist, executive coach and consultant who actually lives in Glasgow. So it's funny how the world shrinks when we're at home. All of a sudden, it's not just Whistler, but it's a global thing. And he's created toolkits on mental health toolkit. He's got one on leadership management survival kit for working from home. So those are things. And I also signed up for TED Talks. So I looked for this one, for instance, for today was I just plugged in working from home, and there were several different TED Talks that can help individuals understand best ways to work from home that way. Music is huge for me, up and low and down and side, all that. Daily walks, runs, a little bit of yoga. Those are my go-tos.
Yeah.
So do you two have any sort of, so we're going to close it out because I don't know that we're getting, I don't know if I'm not, oh, here's a question. How do you make sure you end your work day at a reasonable time? It's easy to keep working. So we kind of talked a little bit about that earlier, but again, take that question and then we'll probably close it out. But again, reiterating, how do you shut this down?
Well, I mean, for myself, I guess it depends on what kind of timelines I've set for myself. And so if I've said that if it's urgent, important, and it needs to be done by the start of the next business day, then I'll do what it takes to get it done. But if it doesn't, then I've got other responsibilities that I need to manage around that. So I think, again, it's being realistic with your timelines, setting clear expectations. And if you love what you're doing and you're enjoying the work that you're doing, then like keep on going. You don't, just because the clock chimes, 3, it doesn't mean you have to stop. So I think you keep going as long as you're enjoying it. And if it's starting to infringe on the rest of your responsibilities, then it's time to reassess that.
That's great.
Yeah.
We have a question from Lori Pine with the Whistler Community Services, and bless all of you out there that are working for that. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of work that's going into Whistler Community Services right now. I know they're going to be opening up, if they haven't already, the food bank at the Whistler Conference Center. So it's pretty substantial. It's a lot. So if you can donate, if you're looking to donate some money, call Lori. Sorry, Lori, I'm going to get you lots of phone calls. Any tricks for balancing with high-spirited children? Beside the obvious, as I realize these are, strange times, very, very different times. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You've got children. I know, Blair, you don't, but maybe you've got some tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah, I don't have kids, so I can give you advice. I have cats and a husband. Which none of them are high-spirited. But I think if you have tasks that you can delegate to your kids that might make them feel like they're helping you, might be really good. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this one because I don't have kids.
Hey, Lori, how's it going with Kevin? Wow, you know what? I mean, all that we've done here is every morning we get up and we have our own team huddle. And we have the sheets on the wall. And we're like, what are we going to do today? When are we going to take breaks? What do you want to have for snacks? And yeah, and then they punch each other and there's crying and we go on from there. But I think it's
couple of things. Lori, I don't know about this one, but a friend of mine, she does every 2 hours, she breaks for an exercise dance off. And she literally shuts everything down, cranks the music, and they all go in the living room. Again, depends. I don't think a teenager is going to do that. So anyway, I don't think we're the experts in the field to be telling you that, but that's what I would do. Yeah. So on that note, any last parting words from either one of you that you'd like to share at this point?
I also think social media is really important. It's a place to connect. I mean, it could be a vortex, so be careful not to get sucked into the vortex of like mindless scrolling. I know I'm a victim to that, but my world is social media. But it's a good way to stay connected, especially if you're feeling isolated and alone. And maybe you start a group with some of your colleagues or friends that are around, the world or the country or the province, just to check in with each other, because like the feelings that you have, I think a lot of people have those feelings, and you know, you probably have a sense of like freedom because you're working from home, but yet isolation because you can't leave your home. It's kind of like this weird paradox, right? It's not, it's something that I guess, I mean, I'm only in my 30s, so I've never seen this. And I don't think any of us really have. And social media can be a place for you to still be connected to people. Obviously, there's lots of news and stuff out there that can, you know, drain you. But if you're, you know, if you're selective about how you communicate online, I think it's a powerful way to not feel so lonely.
Right. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I'm all about training and workshops and leadership education. And so my suggestion is for the folks that are at home, that are the managers or the owners of businesses, get ready for the next step. Get your training manuals up to speed, get your checklists. I mean, really drill down on who you want that next generation of employees to be, and be ready as soon as the tap gets turned back on. Be ready to rock. And so on my website, all the resources that I have are available to be downloaded for free. And so, if you have any questions, shoot me a message.
And we'll get that
here
to your websites. Both of you will get your websites. Olivier can put that into the resources that will go with the video.
This is that's actually a really good point. And this isn't to plug me at all, but this is a really good time to work on your strategy for what's next, not just training your employees, but your marketing strategy. Yes, everything's on pause right now, but as soon as, you know, we pass go and collect $200 or whatever the monopoly saying is, we're all going to be out there supporting one another again. So what's your marketing strategy? How are you going to stand out from your competition? The world has hit pause, and this is a gift. I think we should see this as a gift, as a time to reflect and plan our strategy for moving forward. We all live in such a fast-paced life, you know, traveling and meetings. Like, it's actually really nice to not actually have to be traveling and going to all these meetings as much as I love it. So I want to use this time to really plan a strategy for the rest of the year. What am I going to do to hit the ground running now, so that when things are a go, I'm ahead of my competition?
Yep. Right. Absolutely.
Go get her. Well, thank you both for being with us today and sharing your ideas, your expertise, some of your resources. Really appreciate that. We are recording these videos, so if you've missed a few things, or you need to backtrack, or you want to share it with somebody, it'll be posted on our website at whistlerchamber.com. We're going to continue to stay connected with all of you through some of our regular e-news updates. I'll be hosting more free webinars. Can't speak this morning. One cup of coffee to help you navigate these really difficult days. And my heart, and I know that both Caroline and Blair have talked about this, our hearts really go out to the whole business community. It's just so heart-wrenching to see what's happening out there, and we were hoping that this would be a little bit of a lighter webinar for you and have a little bit of laughter in it. So I hope you found some resources, but also some lightness in it. Our next webinar is on Friday this week, and with special guest Teresa Lambert. Some of you may remember her as Teresa Ginter. She was the general manager of Needle Lake Lodge. She now has her own business, and she'll be talking about self-care for you and your business, which will be on Friday starting at 2 o'clock till 3. And then next week, with the updates from Minister Bill Morneau and Minister Ng today, hoping to hear that at some point today, we have a webinar on financial support for small business. And that's going to be moderated by Diana Chan, who is the owner of Moguls and Zogs, but she's also the chair of our board and comes with an incredible background in finance. She'll be moderating a conversation with Teresa Walterhouse, who's a partner at BDO here locally, who also sat on our board for 9 years. She's also past chair. And also Nick Papuzzi, who is the community manager of Blue Shore Financial, also a director on our board. So stay tuned for more information on when that's happening, but it'll be early next week. And again, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate your time, and virtual hugs, virtual handshake. Yeah, exactly, elbows. So take care of yourselves and everybody out there, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Take care, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.